And welcome back, everyone, to the LPL Spring Grand Final as LGD find themselves up a game against Edward Gaming. My name is Julian Pastry Time Car. Joining with me is Christopher Papa Smithy Smith. And I don't know about an upset necessarily, but LGD currently 7-0 in their playoffs, Papa.
Definitely a game of inches between those two comps, and honestly, EDG, they overstepped specifically in that one fight. And honestly, I come back to the picks and bans. The big factor in this series, if they had Jinx instead of Kog'Maw, I feel like they would have won this game just because they would have had multiple AoE damage threats. But with the lack of AoE damage, the one fight where Kog'Maw chased out of the fight, went onto the Hecarim, it just felt like they didn't have the same threat towards the back line, and it was the AoE crits coming through from the Jinx that just mowed down the front line. Very tanky front lines on both sides, and Kog'Maw, with the lack of AoE, just couldn't get the work done quick enough.
I mean, for me, it's also about the comps, the way they played out. You know, the EDG, you mentioned it actually, very reactive, very high execution, and it felt like just too many of the proactive, too many of the engage tools were in the hands of LGD.
And that's a fair point. They had much more downside in this comp. That's why they kind of needed the Jinx as a bit of an insurance, because of course, with Jinx, if you get that first kill, you can be so much more aggressive and defensive with your positioning, and you've got the likes of Whimsy, you've got the shields coming through. The comp just synergizes so much better with a real backline threat like Jinx that can kind of start off in machine gun form, slowly killing the front line, and then switch over to the rocket form and get into the back line. The Kog'Maw's not quite as maneuverable. In a true Juggernaut comp, maybe, but again, this was somewhere in the middle when it comes to Juggernaut. And the Lulu, honestly, Pawn was spending that fight diving into the backline trying to do aggressive Glitter Lance damage rather than really peeling for death. And they didn't have much of a front line to begin with. So Imp stays healthy, is able to free hit most of those fights, emerges with full health, and the crits, they just came through and came true.
And look, Chorus again, we mentioned that weird to see it defeated finally, but still played a great game. You can see the rundown for our last game here. Just looking over to the side, not enough there, and Acorn picking up MVP for that game, and I don't think I can blame everyone.
It's an interesting choice for MVP, but honestly, his part was really big, and PYL setting it up with the wards. His flank initiates have always been true. The one that he misfired on was the dragon that came through to EDG, but otherwise, showing up at the back of that last fight, just coming back, flanking Deft, killing him in the back line while Imp ripped through the front line. That was enough for LGD to take down this game.
Yeah, you said it in game one, but it feels like Acorn is always in the right place at the right time, and we talk about a lot of contested picks here. Sure, both teams got what they wanted as far as draft goes, but I don't know about leaving the Hecarim open, or maybe giving your opponent Hecarim and Jinx might be a little too much.
If any team in the world not having to ban Hecarim was a realistic thing for EDG, because they've got the Gnar. They had Koro's undefeated Gnar. They've been so well at playing around Gnar that they would have, honestly, for this series, been confident to leave it up. But suddenly, they're going to have to start making adaptations. And if they're forced to ban it out, there's some strong champs that are going to come through this Champions League. Even simply giving over the likes of Sejuani again, it's a potential first pick coming through from LGD. And even with multiple members, you feel like LGD getting the swap opened up such a safe jungling phase. And Nunu's certainly not Lee Sin when it comes to getting in the face of a Sejuani.
No, and I mean, even the mid lane, which was fairly neutral, again, Goviz Oriana, just much more high impact in more situations, I guess. Has more options at different ranges. And Pawn, a great player, a great Lulu player as well, but it just didn't really come together there for EDG, who almost felt like they had to start the game with a 2,000 gold lead in a dragon.
You just feel like with the lane swap, mid lane was so neutral as it resulted, whether that's the skill from Oriana. The lane matchup is always fairly defensive. You'd expect Lulu in the first few levels because she just has that much more wave clear with the early levels in Glitter Lance. It takes about level 7, 8, 9 for Oriana to match the wave clear. You would think inside of a standard laning matchup, push in that mid wave, rotate with your jungler, get in the face of the Sejuani. Instead, jungle follow continues. It wasn't answered, so there was no force for Hecarim to hit lane early, so he actually had much more gold than Gnar, because Gnar was just starved in a lane compared to the super fast jungle follow of 2 junglers with Smite coming through effectively with Acorn having that Smite on Hecarim. It just felt like LGD got away with a lot and weren't punished for it, and EDG were punished for their small mistakes. It's not like they played super poorly that game. It's just they made 2 medium-level mistakes. Firstly, again, the positioning around the Dragon, Deft going too aggressively onto the Hecarim, and the Hecarim being able to re-engage because EDG were fighting on the other side of the wall. And secondly, Clear Love, 4,000 health, but going for a walk far too optimistically in the enemy jungle.
Yeah, just a bit too much aggressive vision wanting there. And Acorn there on your screen, a very good first game, has been wonderful in Hecarim, all playoffs long especially, but you can see him sort of rubbing his eyes a bit. Knows that this is going to be a long series, most likely.
Absolutely. I mean, the 5-game potential after a game like that is looking there, just because, again, these teams are so good on capitalizing on just the smallest of mistakes from the enemy team. What will be the case? So we're on the blue side now at LGD. Their first pick champions are usually the junglers for TBQ, you'd have to think. It's going to be the likes of the Sejuani Gragas. Gragas was the champion that was banned away against TBQ. I would have expected the Sejuani just because, again, Sejuani's a little bit more binary. You just throw out that ultimate. If you hit it face on, it works. Whereas, of course, Gragas' ultimate, you have to be so much more precise. It's either used for disengage or engage. And engage, in particular, is super hard. It's much more reliable as a disengage ultimate, but giving engage tools to someone like TBQ, you just use them so effectively. And when you have the Hecarim flank, I mean, even the Hecarim just rushing in, but flank's so much more useful when it comes to just getting that devastating charge range. And the Sejuani ultimate compared to just the Gnar, I mean, you saw the difference in the value that LGD got from that Sejuani pick.
And look, Koro really tried to carry his team on the Gnar as the effectively sole initiator and in some ways sole tank in a lot of situations as well. He was diving the backline, lining up ultis. Koro is a wonderful Gnar player, but it's not enough in EDG. It might just be small adjustments, but adjustments must be made. And even at a base level for me, just look down the lineups. Koro and Akon, very similar players, I'd say both in style and in skill. I'd say the same thing about Godby and Pawn. Deft and Imp, okay, bit more different in the playstyle, but still equally skilled players. And Mako and POL, same thing. Kind of different as players go. Mako a bit more aggressive, POL a bit more defensive, but similar in skill. My big question is Clear Love. You've been picking on junglers all season long. Where's the Lee Sin? Where's the Nidalee I've been hearing about in solo queue? Clear Love just needs to have more impact than that, because if TBQ, and he's shown it, if he just farms up and has a field day in his early 6 levels, it's so hard to catch back up from the rest of LGD.
And that's the introduction of the Cinderhawk meta, is the introduction of these 100% win rate champions for the likes of TBQ. All those in-meta tank junglers, TBQ has a 100% win ratio on. It's mainly because, honestly, though, as an extension at that point, they're getting the lane swap, so it's so much harder to actually go for those jungle invades when you have jungle followers from strong duelists, like even the Hecarim at level 1 with Rampage does very relevant damage. So keeping LGD accountable, stopping this lane swap, getting aggressive at level 1 with Vision to try and suss out the lane swap. And I agree with you. Going for that more skirmish happy champion from Clear Love. I know you can play the Nunu, but show me that Lee Sin that, hey, it's not ideal in this meta, but just try for it, because otherwise TBQ is going to be unaccountable, show up at a fight, use his CC, and they're going to win. I
mean, even on a tanky jungler, just make your opponents accountable. Either find TBQ in his jungle, or just start tower down like you've been doing all season. But we are into the draft now, well and truly done, actually, as the bans have come through. I'll rattle them off real quick. Urgot, LeBlanc, Rek'Sai for LGD. We've got Kalista, Nunu, and Hecarim there for EDG. And LGD didn't think about it. Insta-locked the Kassadin for Godby.
Aren't we so happy that we're back at this happy place where Kassadin's back to being first pick or first ban? But that's the reality, especially between these two players. Pawn, heroic for coming back into the lineup in Game 5 against World Elite, locking in that Kassadin and carrying. Both these players have tended towards Kassadin in recent matches. I mean, Akon with the tip, Godby with the tip towards Orianna as well. Orianna still available, but not necessarily a Pawn champion, to the extent that Godby, who's basically revolutionized the Kassadin with the current build, the Rod of Ages into the Zhonyas, into the Athenes, for just melee range assassination in the late game, is now available for LGD.
It is an EDG take Maokai Sejuani as their first 2 picks, so a good strong line and some good proactive champions now for EDG, but we'll see what LGD do want to take away for themselves. About 12 seconds left. The PWL Janna still available there as well. LGD might be thinking at this point, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. 5 seconds left. They take the Jinx and they take the Janna.
With the strong tank frontline that was picked by EDG, you knew that a hypercarry-esque champion was going to come out of EDG. Forcing Deft onto the likes of Sivir would be a big damage loss, given that you have so much setup CC for the likes of the AoE crits coming through from the rocket launcher Jinx. So yeah, keep denying away the Jinx, and I think that's a smart move, because now Deft again wants to pick something with high damage, but probably doesn't know where to go to.
I mean, LGD at this point are almost priced into a lane swap, because you have to know at this stage that Mako's going to take his Annie if you leave it for him this late in the draft. There's the Corki, there's the Annie. EDG switch gears.
It's the return to 5.2 meta with the Corki Annie, and the Annie in particular has been such a premium pick coming through from Mako. Been banned 8 games in a row, 9 games in a row, I believe, after the last one. Finally left open. So aggressive is Mako with this champion. And look, you go for a lane swap LGD, you're leaving Mako to be unaccounted for when he's the king of level 1 roams with the Disintegrate.
Yeah, I mean, he's been so good on the champion. Finally gets unbanned for himself here as Imp takes away Gnar. That'll go to Akon, and Gragas is picked up late for TBQ.
Another disengage option. You see Sejuani, one of the best answers is Gragas, just because, again, Glacial Prison, ranged AoE initiate, explosive cast, ranged disengage tool, so it's very similar. It deals with us between Sejuani and Gragas. LGD should decide when these fights start, at least when it comes to the defensive utility. Offensively, it's a bit of a Gnar initiate comp, which isn't ideal. But we reach the late game.
Wow.
They have a lot of disengage and a lot of damage.
Well, we knew that Pawn had an answer to the Castan, and he goes back to Jace, a very, very World Championships 2014 Pawn champion here. I mean, he knew what he left open. We thought about Pawn. He does like to have savvy counterpicks, and he's gone straight back to an old favorite.
You got poke pastry time, Jace and Corki, mixed damage poke coming through. This is a siege comp that they're looking to threaten with the likes of Maokai. They've got excellent dive with it, but Cassidy against Jace, it's going to be a good laning matchup for the Jace, but there's a lot of downside in the late game because there's 3 tanks and a very squishy center between Jace and Corki.
Well, I have to ask you, Papa Smithy, how much time do you give EDG to win this game? Because it is on a timer.
But I mean, this is the Corki comp that they've rotated with. So are Corki Annie. We're talking about excellent rotational play. Maybe you can get that Cassidy on the back foot very early with the Annie roam, but you look at these champions, I agree with you. After about 35 minutes, LGD, they don't have the greatest engage, but their scaling is insane.
It really is, and we've seen what Godvi's Cassidy can do to people. We go down through the lineups again. Imp going to take Jinx for a second time, but Def not quite undefeated on the Corki, but it's a pretty high win rate. And Mako, the Annie, finally unlocked again.
I mean, lane swaps are going to be expected. Just aggressive moves in general. EDG have multiple winning lane matchups. Jace going to beat Cassidy in early laning. Corki Annie you would take over Jinx Janna any day of the week. Gnar vs Maokai definitely tends towards the Gnar, but the rotational play from EDG, it's going to be needed.
And let's get straight onto the riff for Game 2. And welcome back onto the riff for the second game in our grand final between LGD and EDG. LGD currently up a game against EDG here, but EDG, they're looking to fight back and equalize to make it a best of 3, and they have quite the mid-game comp to do it with.
And it's EDG trying to set the clocks back to patch 5.2, patch 5.4, with this rotational turret taking Trinity Force Corki-based comp. Big issue is that we're in the Cinderhulk meta. At some point, TBQ, you can't kill him if you're Corki. There's just no way to get through. Just the healing from the Drunken Rage and the expected 4,000 health or so coming through. Between the Happy Hour passive and the damage reduction on Drunky Rage, you're really going to have a hard time killing TBQ. And let me tell you, Corki cannot kill a Cassidy.
No, not a tank buster is that Corki. It's win early and win often here for EDG's comp, even despite the tanks in the top half of the map, with Clearlove actually having a bit of a meeting there with TBQ's Gragas.
There's other points to worry about. You mentioned the fact that Pawn's on something different. We actually haven't seen the Jace since he lost lane quite spectacular against rookies Yasuo, you'll remember, many patches ago. That was his counterpick against Yasuo. Lost lane, but it didn't matter. EDG rotated around him and still pulled that game late. He cannot afford to fall behind in the mid lane, so you have to think Gragas is going to show plenty of presence in the mid.
And EDG are initiating a lane swap here. They had some vision. I think they're just guessing that LGD would go here, because I can't imagine they didn't want standard lanes.
I mean, it's actually decent for EDG to swap into a lane, just because, again, Mako is the god of roam Annie. This guy's Annie is incredible. I believe 12-1 on the season. If you let Annie be accounted for, you do have that extra burst and a gank onto Godv. You need to start holding down these lanes if you're EDG. Of course, Corki's going to do excellently in this laning phase, so I don't mind it at all coming through. I
mean, I think if you're right and he does target the mid lane, that's a very smart choice from EDG, but we'll have to see how it pans out here. Pawn already going in onto Godv for a bit of trades, and this is the counter pick for Pawn. He's done this matchup quite a few times, but maybe not against opposition this good.
Other small factors, for example, Maokai really struggles in the early laning phase against Gnar. At least having an extra Doran's, maybe a Ruby Crystal will be useful. Mako's already gone for a walk.
Oh, Mako's stolen bust before in the past. Can he do it again? He's going to look to it, but just gets harassed under Akon. Collects a bit of gold from his Spell Thief, sir. But
he needs to be careful.
He does, actually. They're going to go back in. Mako level 1. Maybe a little too much now. Level 2 for TBQ. Slowly they're coming through for both the Qs. He will flash away, and Mako, that was a bit too aggressive.
Exactly. Just walked around a cove where he didn't have vision on the Annie and got punished for it. Now with Flash not available, suddenly it's a possible gank target. Suddenly the roam to mid lane is muted because you don't have that Tibbers for ranged initiate till much later in the laning phase. So that's 4 or 5 minutes of Godv being able to overextend a bit more for farm and not punish this mid lane Cassidy.
With how aggressively Pawn's pushing it, it's probably not the best looking gank anyway, as Korra and Clearlove going to try and take away the red buff. Will do so successfully. I don't know why they're trying. It's pretty easy at this point when you're double jungling. And again, Sejuani doing fine, but Maokai getting a bit of CS there as well as Akon also in with the jungle follow.
It's just all the things. It's all about information. We talked about how LGD smartly used information, rotating around a Lulu running out of mana in terms of trying to siege down a mid tower. It's the same thing with just a flash being down. Suddenly Godvi can go for that CS that much further up the lane because he knows there's no flash anti coming through. The flash has got a very predictable cooldown. They'll have an exact cooldown on that ability. It's just the fact that he's going to get that many more CS, get that Rod of Ages early. The snowball will continue, and in the mid.
Yeah, they're trying to gank up this pawn here. He's been playing so far forward. This entire laning phase does gate his way through. Acorn going to find the slow. That will force the flash. TBQ with a great flash though to get the knock up. Godby going to go over, ignites down, and first blood goes to Cassidy.
And this time Pawn gets roamed on aggressively like his last effort on Jace when he was really struck down against a Yasuo. EDG's counter rotation not as useful without the anti-flash, and LGD get a freebie.
Good gank there from LGD. It's almost like they were feigning towards the dragon as well, but Pawn too far forward in the lane. I understand why he's trying to get aggressive in the counter matchup, but pays for it dearly.
And this is just the thing about Pawn. He's a wonderful mid lane. He's put in multiple carry performances against all sorts of odds, even out of game stuff, like his health condition. But he can get too aggressive. He's an aggressive lane. It's not a surprise to see Pawn solo killed. Not solo killed in this way, but his aggression is his trademark. It's also his curse.
It is indeed, as Pawn returns not even a tier finish now as well. So pretty far behind in the matchup as Imps fast push down the turret already. The LGD rotations, they are fierce, and they're even going straight onto the dragon.
And we mentioned the EDG are the ones on a timer. LGD starting to dial that timer back even earlier.
They're going again for the gank. Knockups come through. Godby will go down, but LGD on top of the dragon, they're going to take it away.
Yep, so they still have a gold lead of about 900 gold. Now they have a dragon as well. The CSing's just worked that much better on the side of LGD. They had the turret as well, causing most of this global gold that's come through. EDG, they need to win this game. They need to start rotating, but they're down a turret and they're down a dragon in a rotational-based EDG lineup.
Well, it's good that they got the gank in. Nice moves from Koro and Clearlove to rotate into the mid and at least neutralize the lane back. But Pawn, he's got a slight CS lead. He's going to wish it was a little bit higher here in this game. And we'll see how it develops. Because, again, Deft, he's freezing the top half of the map. That turret, barely any damage on it, I can imagine.
And Godfrey's gone for a very interesting first buy. He's gone actually for the Seeker's Arm Guard. So he's expecting to be isolated in mid, expecting that he can't afford to go for, say, a Catalyst or a Tia because of all the trade damage of this just lane matchup. If you're going to be isolated, if you don't have to worry about other damage loss, you can afford to delay your power spike just to pick up more CS in lane thanks to that extra armor for tanking shots.
Yeah, Imp going to go back, and with 50 CS almost plus the tower kill, he's got a BF sword already. So we talk about the rotations from EDG, but Jinx and Imp are going to start rotating themselves.
And Deft actually had his back stopped in top lane by Akons. It's going to stay in lane, has enough gold for either the Sheen or Phage, whatever he decides towards. But it looks like Jinx is going to answer that push in the top lane because, of course, no dragon to opt into in bot.
Yeah, Pawn there still CSing nicely, zoning Cassidy off the creep wave, but Godby will just bide his time, get his charges going, and CS the way when it finally pushes back.
I mean, look, he's just happy to wait back. He could take a bit of range poke because he has the extra armor, has the potions available for sustain. He's not overextending for any farm. He doesn't need to in this point because he knows it's going to hit the turret. And 1-2 CS doesn't matter because once we hit 30-35 minutes, he's Cassidy and he's against the Jace.
Yeah, TBQ coming back. So's PYL actually on the Janna, but Pawn not going to fall for it this time in that particular scenario, so instead just settles for a bit of poke, finally pushes the wave back in, but Imp, he's in the top lane pushing down the turret, and it's going down.
Exactly, he's having free time with the turret. Mako's in the area, but what is a little Annie to do at level 3? And it's not going to maybe get the turret, but going to get so much damage on this outer turret.
Def returning, and Imp is just chugging away. Not even orb walking, just fancies himself auto attack. He might have even, taken a sip of his drink at some point. But EDG, they're going to try and respond with a tower kill of their own. They're going to dive in onto Akon. Clearlove coming in there, does get the slow, but TBQ here at level 4 to try and disengage. Koro eats a knock up there. Akon going to move back in. TBQ, though, too much damage as Akon's trying to get the trade kill, but it doesn't happen. Imp, though, will get the turret. Ulti down onto Deft as Akon trying to dive down the bottom. Gets knocked up again, and Pawn, he wants the kill. He will get it, but Cassidy, he's come down. He's level 6. He's going to dive in onto Pawn. The kill's going to come through. Godby gets 1. Can he make it 2? Might keep going, and Clearlove, level 5 only, can just get away.
EDG were really sloppy on that turret. I've took multiple turrets. The EQ coming through from Jace missed, so just that much more tanky was Akon because he hadn't taken the burst to start the fight. And the trades are going poorly in top. All across the map, things are going poorly for EDG.
They are, and that's not good news for a team that was the easy favorite given their performance in the split, and honestly even in the playoffs, despite the fact that it looked a little shaky with you on the reins there in the World Elite matchup. But LGD have really played themselves into form all playoff long, and it's showing.
I mean, you just think about EDG's run. They had the run of things against IG, but IG just was a different team than that we saw in both the quarterfinals and the finals. And they were taking 5 games by World Elite. It certainly hasn't been flawless performance. Deft.
Yeah, Deft in trouble. Has to Valkyrie away. Will escape, but that's a sloppy spot to try and go into.
Whereas LGD have been clinical. They've been against the second and third place finishers in their regular season and dispatched them easily. What a thing it would be if LGD could win this split, taking down first, second, and third place on the road. That is as a royal road as you can be, and they're looking like they might be able to do it.
Yeah, looking strong so far. About 1,000 gold up here, or just a bit more up against EDG. 2 turrets down already is the crucial difference. And, of course, the Dragon up as well. We've talked about objectives being important for both these teams, and EDG can't continue to fall behind in this situation.
I mean, you say they're important for both teams. They're critical for EDG's team comp. They need to be hitting those item timings, rotating around, using power spikes. The power spikes aren't there, and they're already in an objective hole in every sense of the word. 2 turrets and a Dragon when they're the team with the Corki. They're being dictated to. And at this point, do you start considering first picking or banning the Jinx? Because it feels like it's been the crucial point that's been lacking in both their comps of the first 2 games.
Yeah, I mean, Deft, again, undefeated on Jinx, all-time in competitive. Seems like a champion that is highly contested. I think that was the same fact in someone's recent quarterfinal in the playoff. Can't quite remember who, but they were basically trading Jinx games back and forth. She's been very good in the playoffs.
That was actually EDG and World Elite. Mystic was the one taking away the Jinx. This map is complete lockdown from LGD. Honestly, there's nothing EDG can do. Look at these pink wards. 4 pink wards down the line of the river. The next Dragon, any rotations, everything is in the control of LGD. They have complete map control, even if they haven't necessarily picked a comp. They've picked multiple losing lane matchups. Even Cassidy now has the freest lane of his life.
And I think once upon a time, you would have looked at the Nunu ban and said, okay, Jinx isn't getting picked anymore. But I don't think that's true anymore. Jinx has really shown herself to be quite a power pick in a matter of lots of big tanks and good peel for your hyper AD carry. And Jinx, she's so flexible, she's so powerful, and Deft on the Corki, he's going to have to put a lot of jet fuel into that plane. He has to go real hard.
I guess it's just not enough people respecting the fact that give her a BF sword, just like in the past, give her the old Bloodthirster. She just explodes turrets. She doesn't need any invitation to do so. And when you're so on point with your aggressive warding and your rotation, the rotational play always been a key of the likes of Acorn and PYL. You're in the right spot. You mow down a turret in machine gun form. And hell, in late game, you're a hyper carry anyway. So the upside is there at all points of the game for Jinx if you're playing it so rotationally sound. And credit to LGD, they've recognized this, they've prioritized the champion, and they're playing around it. It could be the early third outer rung of turrets once again for LGD.
And they're looking for it. They actually got like 3 turret in game 1, but answered back nicely after they got some advantages through the mid game.
Is it any surprise Pawn has no mana?
No, not at all. I mean, this is great pressure here from LGD. Dragon's even back up as well. As we've said, they've played so smart all playoffs long and just showing it again.
And they just stacked these events. They play so savvy. Keep contesting these enemy blue buffs. You saw there was a blue ward on the enemy blue. There was pinks in the area. If he never picks up blue, at some point he's not going to have mana. Rotate towards mid. Take that objective if you can. And then they don't get it, but they rotate and get a free Dragon.
Yeah, Dragon is dead here at this point, so that will go over to LGD very soon, you have to think. Godby going to return in. There he goes. The Dragon does come through there for the LGD squad. And Deft on the top side trying to get some push on, but he doesn't have very many good options, unfortunately.
There's no Trinity Force or even Sheen to get big turret damage. It's going to be a very slow turret timer. Cassidy can't stand up to trades, is low on mana himself, but with not hitting any sort of impressive timers here. 12 minutes with a Corki comp. Turrets all looking safe for LGD.
Imp looking good here as well. 116 CS, slightly ahead there of the Corki. And Berserker Grieve's already there, ready for rotations if he needs to. Gonna go back. Infinity Edge can't be too far away as he gets a pickaxe as well.
Flat AD and just the attack speed, and even the movement speed is so critical for Jinx. She gets a lot of power out of getting the early Berserker Greaves, not for the same reason as someone like Twitch or Callista that have the on-hit damage effects, like the Rend, like the Expunge, but mostly for just getting that last rocket, being able to orb walk aggressively, because you lose a lot of attack speed. You just want to be in actual attack range of hitting that last rocket to get the kills, to get excited, because then again, from there, the second, the third, the fourth, we saw it last game. Those kills start rolling in.
Oh, Pawn in trouble. Acorn actually teleporting. Nope. Pawn fine. Apparently Acorn trying to catch Koro, it seems, just caught well and truly out of position with no turret to back to. It's a long walk back to his tier 2. Can he twist it advance away? No good ult there. The TBQ will go on to Acorn, but that's about all he can hope for. Gets bounced on, flashes nicely over the wall. Clear Love, though, can't save him, and Imp snipes him with an ulti.
Really impressed with the Gragas mechanics. That was a pinpoint explosive cast to bounce him back into the team. We expect the Death Rocket mechanics from him. Very big.
TBQ cut out of position, knocked up there. Good double ulti. Acorn going to be the pick next as well. W comes over, Ignite comes in as Death flashes so aggressively for the kill. Does pick it up, and that's a nice 2-for-1.
It doesn't quite have his usual item timing, but does get the burst trades in. 1-0-1 now is Death. They really want to punish Jinx for overextending, but critically get that first turret.
And Imp, yeah, they do get the turret in top lane. Imp was working on mid, but he couldn't get it. EDG going to turn on the counter push here, and between the Corki and the Jace, they push turrets quickly.
They spring into life super fast. It gives Cassidy free farm, but they'll take it as a swap for a second outer objective. Make those turrets score all even, and they're actually ahead in gold after they take this objective. Yes, 1,000 gold ahead after what was such a slow early game.
It was, and we've seen EDG do this before. Get behind slightly, play these maybe passive or just make some small mistakes in the early game, but their biggest pressure with this comp especially has always been the mid game, and let's be real, they have to beat Cassidy in this Rod of Ages timer.
Exactly, they don't have the luxury of moving this into the late game. They really need to take it during the 10-minute charge time of the Rod of Ages. Rod of Ages is going to be picked up very soon, sitting on about 550 gold. It's about 200 gold away from the Rod of Ages. Add 10 minutes to that timer, and that's when EDG need a big advantage. Whether it's Baron, whether it's breaking the base, they need to get the game rolling by that point, or Cassidy level 11 moving towards level 16 is going to be a super huge threat.
And Point thankfully stole away LGD's blue, so the steal that Godby just got on EDG's blue won't feel nearly as bad this game, but Mako rotating around, he's got his distortion boots with the Moby, the Makako Tabe special from many years ago. Trinity Force is done for Def. Pawn's working on his next few items. For me, this comp for EG caps at Jace's big 3 items. Brutalizer, Last Wisdom, Animuno. When that happens, they need to hit the ground running.
And EG's big problem at this point, they've got double Sightstone, but they've got no ward coverage whatsoever. How can they make the aggressive rotations that the likes of Corki with Trinity Force and Sejuani and Annie need to do if they don't have the wards to open them up? This enemy side of the jungle is super scary. It's completely dark for EDG, so they cannot play their rotational game until they start multiple men invading for vision, clear out these pink wards, but crucially, get their own aggressive red wards in, because so far the only aggressive red wards are around the blue side jungle of LGD, and they don't have any objectives to fight around there just yet.
Yeah, you can see the vision toggled there. Absolute darkness for EDG as they'll find a pink ward and be able to take it away. Godby actually might be waiting. No, just in the bottom side of the map, but Deft will come in to clear out the rest of the minions. Infinity Edge done now for Imp. Godby's got that timer ticking now with the Rod of Ages completed in. There's the Hexdringer and some health there for Akon in the top lane.
It's honestly crazy that at, 16 minutes into the game, Cassidy can just sit happily in bottom, wait for Corki to push up this lane and wave clear. They haven't created or engineered any pressure to be able to actually get a pick around the area. Finally, Mega's got some smart wards, but Cassidy in general is just looking to trade farm with Corki because he knows he's going to win that trade.
EDG are playing so patient with these pushes. They don't have any vision. That's the problem. They're afraid to push out past the river because they don't know who might be ganking them.
Exactly. I mean, that's a very valid scaredness at this point when you look at the fact that there's 2 people in the pocket of Cassidy.
Yeah, I mean, people ready to go, but we'll back away there from the bottom side as PYL and TBQ will get out of the bottom side of the map. Deflo has to kind of push the wave back in. That's going to open up vision around the dragon once again for LGD. And as we look down, actually, very sparse warding there around the river area. And LGD, if they can get this third dragon, that gives them so much momentum moving in towards their 25-minute timer.
Yeah, LGD had about 8 to 9 minutes of lockdown vision around that area. Crucially, only got 1 dragon from it, already had the first dragon in their pockets. The third dragon, as you mentioned, with a rotational-based comp like EDG's that uses things like the Jace E to move around, that needs to take turrets and abuse their excellent engage options from the likes of Clearlove on Sejuani and the Annie coming out of Mako. The extra movement speed makes you that more likely to step out of the range of the Tibbers, of being able to disengage from the Glacial Prison. Movement speed is a really core statistic in League of Legends. It's so hard to itemize for, so that's why the 5% is one of the most contested 4 objectives in the game.
EDG, though, smartly getting their vision down finally as they've got a couple wards in. Godby, I was going to say caught out, but it's quite hard to catch a Cassidy, and will pretty safely take the ward out for himself.
Clear the ward. There's an extra ward put down, so that's 1 less ward in the inventory there from Mako. They're trying to get the lockdown and get their first answering dragon. What will be the cost if LGD look to not opt into this dragon, though? Because they're only going to trade objectives. They're never going to give away a free one.
No, EDG going to take away the turret in the bottom side before the dragon, or at least try to, but LGD going to get vision in the top side of the map. Deft pushing in, but maybe shouldn't do it solo as Koro. With the Righteous Glory, he's ready to initiate a team fight if they want to start it. Backing away, but LGD a little scared here. I guess recognize the power spike from EDG, give up the turret and the dragon.
Interestingly, they're seeding 2 objectives. I did not expect that to happen. I guess with the neutral warding, they didn't feel like they had the extra vision on the likes of Annie or Clearlove when it comes to initiate. And losing 2 objectives, that's such a big snowball towards EDG.
Big poke there into PYL as well by Pawn, and they might just keep pushing here. That's 3 outers down. Might try and push in for a 4th turret or get some vision down that they've been lacking almost all game long. I mean, there's so many engaged threats here for EDG, and it's LGD this time. They have to play on the defensive.
I mean, to equalize things, think about the inventories here. Kasten has Rod of Ages looking for scaling damage. We already see the Righteous Glory finished for Maokai. He's going much more aggressive. They're looking to pick onto Acorn, but Twisted Advance right now is down.
Yeah, they want to gank here, but Acorn can't really go anywhere. Good Arcane Smash. Mako with a stun. Clearlove going to look for a follow-up stun, but Acorn hops and flashes away. Ulti just missing there. Don't even get the slow, but Twisted Advance is back. Clearlove's going to permafrost him. Mako with a stun, and Clearlove gets the kill.
While it's multiple members being used, there's no objectives to answer, so might as well go for the freebie kill. Get the flash out of Acorn. That's being answered in this situation. So they get the flash. Suddenly, you have so much less risk coming through from the Flash Gnar ultimate. And we already mentioned the other engage tools, a bit like EDG's comp in Game 1, are not really there for LGD.
Yeah, and Acorn down 30 CS in that lane, and for once, in the wrong place there in the top lane, pushing too far forward. And you can tell that they're trading some farm for their Kasten, and Godby is getting stronger as the Rod of Ages has about 4 minutes worth of stacking on it. TBQ going to try a blue buff steal, and actually might be able to get it here.
I mean, they have 4 members in the area. You can see Sejuani coming from the top side of the map, but it's going to be far too late. Godby picks that up. The stacking's at 4 minutes. We mentioned the next 6 minutes. The first 4 minutes of that Rod of Ages timer has been very good to EDG. They need to continue to stack objectives, though, in the next 6.
I mean, you can tell why LGD have been respecting all the power of EDG. They've been so scared to contest it. They're freely giving away objectives. Acorn actually got himself killed as a result, but LGD, they know that if they can hold on, even though it's 3,000 gold up right now for EDG, if this lead stays as it is, stays effectively neutral for 5 to 10 more minutes, their late game scaling will start to take over.
And look, it's not a guarantee in the late game because there is some lockdown CC that can be used specifically on the Kasten to try and burst him down. Corki definitely struggles in killing someone like Kasten who has the Riftwalk for reposition, so you miss a lot of your AoE spells. Just is going to have a large health pool from the Rod of Ages and the Stasis opportunity. But there is Annie and Sejuani lockdown CC, and with that Mura mana, actually about 150 mana away from transforming, the single target damage from the hyperdrive coming through from Jace is actually something to be respected.
Trying to steal the red buff there is in, but doesn't get it, just pokes Deft in the face there with a big old rocket. EDG will return to their mid lane, but good wave clear here with Pawn, especially who's sort of hit his stride as far as mid-game build goes. Just needs the transform that you mentioned. Aegis dump for Clearlove now is on. EDG starting to put the foot on the pedal a little bit more, and I like that you mentioned the Maokai, just even as a little thing. Maokai against Cassidy, much like LeBlanc, seems like a very smart pick for EDG.
Exactly. The Twisted Advance, its target, even if the Riftwalk comes through, will still end up CCing that target. Still very tricky to burst down a 10-stack Rod of Ages Cassidy. Ult used defensively. They really don't want to seed this turret.
Good rotation from EDG, but they're going to get good damage onto the turret. It's actually 4v5 or 4v4. Godby's in the bottom side, but Clearlove's in the mid pushing, and Cassidy, he will not stop, and Koro does not have his teleport.
And the poke is super intense from the likes of Jason Corki. Mixed damage, high damage poke, especially when the big one is available. Sejuani prepping the minion wave in mid. LGD understand they're going to at least, at minimum, lose this first outer turret. Don't want to leave themselves in a position to lose 2.
No, Koro's already back. That's smart stuff. Maokai can probably handle Cassidy at this point. Godby doing work on the turret, but will not claim it, and Clearlove wants a kill so bad. He's going to try going out to PYL. Gets both there. Mako flashes forward. That's one kill instantly. Def going in, looking for the next. The Chompers may just save the rest of his team, and PYL the only casualty.
They get the first pick. Still 2 minutes to Dragon. Baron not a realistic objective. EDG, no real need to stop the siege. Pawn still got blue buff. They could keep sieging, but no, they back away.
Do not tell EDG that Baron is not a realistic objective. This team, more than any other, has done so many sub-25-minute Barons.
And they have a lot of Baron vision. They have not cleared away the one blue buff, so it is the blue wards. It is going to be expected. That's a lot of Baron damage. Maokai's going to react second, though.
This is really, really risky for EDG, but Koro might have caught out Acorn. No catch required, but EDG do have to pull off the Baron and lose any other pressure.
Yeah, so they aren't able to pick up that outer turret. That would have been the easy objective. They went all in. They tried to get the Baron, and honestly, if there wasn't a blue ward there, it would have been so high cost for LGD to face check that area. I believe Imp wasn't in range for the Scrying Orb at the time. It might have been a free Baron. So a decent attempt, but the result is nothing.
I feel like the reason EDG do that so often is that in that situation, they feel confident in their team fighting in a 5v4, because that's what it is for a little while when you go onto the Baron. The opportunity cost, if you get it, is so high at 25 minutes that it's a reasonable calculated risk to take.
I think just returning to that line of thought, the big issue, I think it's situational. Obviously, if you feel like you have the high Baron damage, absolutely force it down. Trinity Force Corki, not the highest Baron damage. The issue, the thing is here, the unique factor, the LGD engage is almost non-existent. They don't have engage options, so if you are face check, you will be able to kite away. You have disengage CC coming through from even just Annie's regular disintegrate and her passive, so able to back away. So again, you try and force it down, you don't get it, you don't lose anything. There was no big objectives on the map that could be answered, so why not go for the Baron? You get it, fantastic, 22-minute Baron. How's the enemy going to deal with that? You don't get it, at least you don't get punished with death.
Yeah, 3,500 gold up now for EDG, although now only 3,000 as Imp takes away a turret almost solo there. See a QSS done for Jace as well. Dragon back up in 5 seconds. Scuttle Crab will go to Imp actually, so that credit will go over to LGD, but Koro looking for a flank just on the right-hand side there. EDG, they really want to fight.
Yeah, both Koro and Godby thinking about different types of flanks, because look at this. Zhonya's is completed. Only about a minute left till 10-stack Rod of Ages. Did EDG get enough? That's the big question. They got a 3,000 gold lead. They're winning in turrets, but did they get enough to deal with a late game Cassidy?
This team fight will tell us that, I think, as Koro getting aggressive, really going the long way around for the flank. He wants to get right on top of him. He's actually popped his Righteous Glory. The fight started. Akon going in. Clearlove's in the mix though, and Death's peeling away Clearlove. Little too much damage being taken. TBQ gonna get low. Does go down to Death. Clearlove just goes down to Nubbin. Round the side, Koro right onto Imp. They will get the kill as Maokai claims it, but Godby going nuts so they can't split up too much. Mako goes down to Akon, who gets a double kill. Pawn looking to go down. Maokai trying to peel away, and that's 4 kills. Make it 5. Akon gets away, and Koro might take a while, but he's going to try.
This had to use too many resources to take down Imp. They had to use the Valkyrie aggressively from Death. Dies with his heal up. Did not have the flash available. Eventually, Jana, of all people, gives up the kill credit, but that's the question answered. LGD, the consistent damage from Godby just can't be answered, and he can't be peeled away.
Kassadin's so strong, and he's fully stacked now with that Rod, the gold lead. Only 1,000 up now for EDG. A third dragon for LGD here as well. And you have to think, we talked about the time, a time may be out for EDG.
And that's the thing, Koro took so long to get into the fight, eventually got where he wanted to. They got the kill on it, but at the massive cost of losing all their damage. Pawn couldn't even solo down the Nard, didn't have the item timings to do so, even though he's got basically everything he'd want at this point with the Mirror Mana transformed. QSS completed just for an extra factor wasn't enough in that fight.
I mean, just at, again, a basic level, splitting up like that, really bad against when you have your Maokai that's basically trying to peel and absorb damage with the ultimate, and a Kassadin that just has all the mobility in the world.
But this is not a team comp like EDG were running in the previous game, where you can just have a 4-man peel group for the AD carry. Corki is a different type of AD carry, all about burst trades rather than necessarily attack speed modifiers, like just pure attack speed and crit. Looking to see who took the blue buff. Godby has one, but unsure if that was the previous blue buff.
I think TBQ got one, but I'm not too sure.
You're right, TBQ got it.
Good work, mate. Manages to take it away for himself as EDG trying to find a foothold back into this game, but now only up about 1,000 gold again. And let's see the last team fight.
So remember, Maokai on your minimap still hasn't entered the fight. Already Righteous Glory popped, isn't able to do anything. It's just a bit of neutral poking around this fight. Clearlove is basically completely DPS'd out and is lucky not to die at the start of the fight. And even though TBQ dies, look what has to be used to get on top of him. They have to use all their resources, and they open themselves up to Godby, who just has the consistent damage for days. Was able to flash and Riftwalk at that point. Pawn does damage, but not in an unorganized fight like this. He definitely prefers to be fighting out in the open and poking around. And even though it's 3 low health members, Koro just doesn't have the damage. No Rod of Ages or AP to be able to do damage to any of these members, and they kite him around for days.
Godby's flank there was exceptional on the Kassadin, and just rewatching that fight, you can see on the left-hand side, it's the big tank Maokai that tries to get away with the Kassadin, and the Kassadin with all the squishies at his feet.
And this is the fact that Koro took so long to get to the backside, was waiting for his time. There wasn't a clear one. Then Righteous Glory was already used before he was able to use it for engage. It just took too long, and the cost was Corki dying as well, and that's where the damage just ended for EDG.
I mean, almost down in gold, down in dragons now at EDG as well, and LGD have started to scale. Infinity Edge Static Shift, Last Whisper done for Depth. Godby almost finished the Athenes for his patented Zhonya's Rod of Ages Athenes build. Warmog's done for Akon. Age is done for TBQ along with the Cinderhawk, plus a Sightstone and some extra health as well. The items are fine on both sides, but the fact that LGD right now are equal on gold with EDG, know what EDG's comp wants to sit.
Yeah, the big items are hit. The damage is off the charts. The 3 big damage items coming through from the Jinx, and the armor's not there. Just see the Frozen Heart completed. Just a Glacial Shroud from Clearlove. They put in so much effort because their comp is all about deleting Imp and then dealing with magic damage. Deleting Imp is going to get harder and harder. His Flash will be available soon. And it's just going to be safe behind the tanky members like TBQ and PYL.
And Clearlove fishing for an ulti, but can't find one. EDG back on the offensive with Imp move towards the top side. Good poke there onto the Kassadin, but at this point it's just ward clearing duty, and LGD feels safe enough that they can split people up for farm. Okay, now Imp's coming back as EDG. Trying to take another turret. TBQ gets forced out of his jungle, but it's a small window for EDG.
Yeah, they're just tanking up this turret, trade tanking to get as much turret damage as possible before the multiple members come out. With the Bloodthirst, they have very good poke damage. Teleport comes in.
Good ulti there. Akon actually going in. Korra gonna follow in as well. And that might just neutralize the fighter as EDG have already backed away.
Surprisingly neutral teleports coming through. Nobody gets anything out of it. EDG obviously strongest as a 5-man poke group under enemy turrets. Engage options from LGD at a premium, but it's all about the flank. And now with teleports being equalized, flanking's that much harder.
And that's the advantage that EDG have is the turrets that they've got up and the siege in their composition, but it's starting to fall away as the rest of LGD tank up. And maybe talk about a new timer here, Papa Smithy. I think that Athene's from Kassadin means that EDG has run out of options.
I mean, level 16 and Athene's, that's the big thing for Kassadin. Because you know what's going to happen then? He's going to have 40% CDR. He's going to stand out of vision, stack up his Riftwalk, and flash kill someone instantly and go into stasis. So they don't necessarily have engage, but it'll get to the point where Golvi has one-shot potential on Deft. And Deft has to choose, do I start building towards a Banshee Veil or do I go for damage? And given previous team fights, if you're not poking, you need a lot more damage here if you're Deft.
I mean, even with Zhonya's and a 90% slow on Force Pulse, it might as well be engaged with the Kassadin.
I mean, that's going to be their choice. As you mentioned, the base slow is only for a second, but it's a 90% sheer slow. That's enough time for the speculative ultimate to come in from TBQ, who's already hit an excellent bouncing ultimate back into the team in a fight down bottom lane, so he can try that again shortly. The Dragon buff's another win condition for LGD. We say they have the scaling advantage. That's the ult.
Ultimate Clearlove coming in, Imp getting dove on PYL as well, but the Gragasol will peel away. Pawn dives in, needs the kill, gets it. Akon now in trouble as Godby not here in the fight. TBQ going to go down, no, just lives, and EDG have tanked the turret, but Godby coming for a flank. Can he get in?
He hasn't been spotted by Vision just yet. There is a sapling that'll spot him out. Why is Godby split away? They have to ask. The only win condition EDG have is going for that poke.
Oh my god, he's going in so deep here potentially, but not going to come through. He's actually already gone in. He's forced to use his Zhonya's. They found him over the wall, and they're going to initiate Koro. Really tanky. So is Clearlove, and Godby going to get chased away in a crucial misplay by LGD.
Yeah, I mean, big misplay from Godby. He wasn't called to mid, so wasn't there. Doesn't have a lot of AoE wave clear, but the only thing EDG are good at with this team comp is poking. And he couldn't look to engage. They look to engage aggressively. That's what they always do with the likes of Annie Sejuani. Go for those flash ults. They got this Baron down low.
Oh, it's not that low. The Maker is actually zoning out the jungle. It does go down, though, as Clearlove smites it away. Now they look again. Deft aggressively Valkyries forward, forcing Akon to flash out, and Imp, you can see the look on his face. His team all of a sudden lost control of this game.
And this might be 2 games where a team gets a lead, plays smartly, plays around objectives, and that just has a crucial brain fade that might be just an irrevocable lead, because EDG, with those Baron buff minions and the poke they have from the Baron, will siege down turrets like crazy. Now, in all this time, LGD will get their 4th Dragon buff. So, look, it's use that Baron, it's break the base, or maybe it's just lose due to all the pressure from the 5th Dragon buff consistently being a concern every 6 minutes for LGD.
EDG jump ahead in gold, which is the nice spot there, but you're right, that 5th Dragon. Want to talk about win conditions? Dragon's a pretty good one, and LGD have basically had a perfect run of Dragons so far.
You know, they have that extra damage to monsters and minions now, so it'll help with the wave kill when it comes to the big siege game. That just has to be opted into. Last Whisper is the pickup from Deft. No chance to build magic resist. Still a very possible assassination target by Godby.
And EDG maybe thought their timing window was closed. Somehow found a way to bust through the front door, but you have to break the base and try and get yourself in a position to win the game, because Baron buff only going to be here for a couple of minutes, and again, LGD going to keep scaling forward.
Can LGD prime these minion waves to stop the turret dives with minions coming through? Righteous Glory on Maokai and Annie lets you know exactly what EDG want to do this game. It's get the flash up onto Annie, get a pick, use their tanking members to tank a turret, and take objectives. Their poke is very, very strong, and at least these outer turrets are indefensible for LGD.
Yep, 6 turret falls. That's all the tier 2s down now as well. And EDG, how much more can they get as Imp forced to push out waves in the mid side of the map now? In the bottom, EDG might look to go in at any moment. They've got all the ultimates available, and you look down, there are not that many flashes up for LGD.
There's half health on the turret, still no go button though. This game is getting really, really close.
They've got so much turret damage. Oh, look at just the poke they're coming in. Get it down to about 60% health already.
But they can't really press the go button. It'd be so risky to take the turret, but maybe that's what needs to happen.
They use the locket. They have to go in. They do take it out. They break the base. Bottom inhibitor going to fall here as on. EDG might have been gifted a window back into the game.
Again, it's just that one missed position from Golvi being so quickly punished. You have to expect the assertive flash Tibbers, flash Glacial Prison, because it's what EDG have been doing all season long, and LGD fell into the trap.
7,000 gold up now for EDG, starting to find themselves with a pretty substantial lead in the game. LGD feel lucky that they've got the 5th Dragon to lean on here in the situation, because EDG, that will be their next consideration in a few minutes long. But if you can end the game before the 5th Dragon becomes relevant, guess what? That win condition goes out the door.
And you have to get those minion waves in position to actually be able to go and compete for that objective. They have very good offensive vision, but the defensive vision in their red side jungle and around Dragon is completely absent almost at this point. Only a couple of offensive wards around the enemy blue buff. If they hope to contest, they need to push out the super minions and get wards down. That's going to be a difficult objective throughout this game.
Yeah, you can see Imp now has to back out from his jungle. They can't even contest for the blue buff. If Godby doesn't have one, he would love to take one away. But right now it's being denied by EDG, and this might be their last push. Baron, I think, has worn off at this point in the game. No, it has not. Koro does still have... Nope, it does. That's a visual bug.
Yeah, the buff bar definitely tells us the truth that Baron has run out. Still about 4 minutes away from Dragon. I guess 5 minutes from Baron or thereabouts. Still a lot of time is on this game, but the wards from EDG, they just litter this map.
Yeah, and again, it's the team that when they get on the front foot, both teams very good at putting wards down as they retreat or enter an area, and you can tell it was all LGD in the last 20 minutes ago in this game, and now it's been EDG for the last 5.
Yeah, the flashes are available, double Righteous Glory as well, the go buttons are present, and no QSS from Imp means that his position is going to be very, very defensive in these fights.
He only just got lifesteal as well, and thank God he has that, because it would be a pretty tricky defense if he didn't have it. Without the Baron buff, this could be a bit trickier, but depth going in, and that is quite the turret damage.
Exactly. Got through the shield, though, only. It's only just about 100 health chipped away. It's going to be a long siege coming through. Caston's the only person they trust to take down these super minion waves in bottom. Of course, don't have a lot of wave clear when you opt into Caston and Gnar. Only really Mega Gnar and Jinx AoE crits for wave clear.
I mean, he's the only one mobile enough as well, so I think you have to at this stage. And LGD going to try and keep it down again. EDG, they know it's a long siege, but it doesn't matter how long it takes as long as they get it.
Caston's backing actually going to purchase, so isn't going to be here. It's a low turret.
TBQ going in. Clearlove gets popped into the team. Def going to try and take the turret, but that's quite dangerous. Pawn gets in. They'll take it away. Akon gets knocked away there by Pawn as Clearlove goes back in, and they're tanking up so much damage at EDG. Diving onto Akon. They're going to try and take him out. Gets the 2 tanks there. Do they as Def gets the first kill. Godby forced to use the Zonias. Gets bursted down massively. Def going off big, but Imp returns in for the fight, and Pawn, that's a big crit there as they'll follow through his POL. Trying to find somebody. Clearlove gets away. Depth though goes in. 1v3, gets the first kill. Goes in onto Imp, tries to find it, but the stun lands in. But Godby's found his way back in. He'll use proactively there to get away from Cassidy. And risky for EDG, but they get the inhib.
It's so close between these two teams. All flashes down, all aggression used. Aggression is the name of the game for Deft on this cork. He always knows how to judge damage to a T. They get the pick, but crucially, they don't take down this top inhibitor, and bot inhibitor is respawning soon.
Pawn's sort of baiting them, I think. He's buying a bit more time because he knows Dragon's back in a minute, Baron back in a minute 25. These are key objectives for both sides here, and especially LGD. If they can get to this Dragon and take their 5th, the game might turn around once again.
Exactly. They don't have vision around the area, but they're going to start getting it now. They finally have that defensive vision around their Raptors and red buff, pushing vision towards the Dragon. Probably not going to be a steal attempt necessarily coming through, but they don't have the minion waves prepped yet to actually make contesting the second dragon a realistic objective.
Well, a blue elixir there bought by Godvi, I think tells you a lot about the story. LGD know they have about one good team fight left to get control back of this game because EDG, they're not going to get to 5 dragons, not in this game, but taking away the 5th and getting another Baron, very tricky for LGD to win from that point onwards.
Yeah, honestly, at this point, EDG's objective is the must-win objective is taking that dragon just to give them a bit of pressure release, just give them one less thing to consider is the fact that they might be trading a turret or downing an inhibitor for a 5th dragon win condition that would lead to a fight they cannot win. LGD definitely looking to position for this dragon though.
Dragon's back up, and again, LGD, they do have plenty of fight left in their team comp as well.
Look
Massive
at that
poke by Pawn though. Might dissuade them in EDG. They don't want to take the dragon, they just want to make sure LGD don't get it.
Look at this flank though.
Oh my god, Koro going into the backline. They're diving in deep. Godby trying to find a way in, but PYL goes in. Massive ulti lands onto him. That's 2 dead. Make it 3 as TBQs falls down as well. And EDG bait them in for that 5th dragon and take 3 clean kills.
What a flank coming through from Koro. It was insane right around the back of the team fight, getting everybody riff walking in. It looked like Death does damage in about 300 range as Corki, unloading onto the Jinx, not able to get away. No QSS, 4 damage items. Don't do a lot of damage when you're dead.
Super Creep's already here. Bottom inhibitor falls back down. Nexus turret will go down, and EDG will equalize the match. Godby dives in, but he gets obliterated as he dives into the team. Turret will fall. Nexus will join them soon. Acorn trying to fend them off, but it's hopeless at this stage. And from a best of 5, we fall to a best of 3 as EDG take game 2.
And EDG show what's old is new. They bring back their 5.2 meta, but they execute it so well. We kind of tipped the hand over to LG. They had that big cast and they had that big Jinx. It was looking like the mid game would be the big win for them. But one mistake again. What a game series this is when it's only the smallest of mistakes that are taken down. You can see Imp is a bit crestfallen on your screen because that game was in the palm of their hands with the scaling they had, and EG stole it away.
Yeah, the team that's looked very proactive at the early part of the season especially found a way back in. And I have to say, that's 2 games and 2 massive Sejuani ultimates, and that's what's been the deciding factor.
Sejuani and Annie, that's the duo that they had this game. They didn't even need the Sejuani for the starter parts of the season, but Mako's Annie has been respected for so long. 9 bans in a row left open, and it was the go button they needed.
Yeah, it wasn't banned for the 10th game, and look what happens as EDG equalize it now. And as we return from our break, we'll go back between LGD and EDG to now a